Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays Abiding by AFTERBIRTH Plus. It's been good runs, little sketchy on the HP on a couple of these, but not this one. A6 F3 7GWH. It really feels like even with that luck down, we're kind of entering. And I know there's no way to establish that like there's this kind of momentum when it comes to the seeds on an Eden run. I was willing to give it a try there. But look at this seed compared to some of the seeds that we had, you know, like 2 days ago, for example. Good speed, adequate at least, great rate of fire, great damage, enough HP. This is a great run. Good spacebar item. Some people's favorite spacebar item in the game. You ever mention, you ever have that happen, I should say? You mention something to somebody and it becomes like your personality. I know this. What are you talking about, NL? I'm gonna get there, okay? It just takes a second. One person on the Isaac subreddit, probably like 3 years ago, commented that Crack the Sky was their favorite spacebar item in the game. Now every time I get Crack the Sky, there's like a 60% chance I'm gonna be like, well, some people say it's their favorite item in the game. I'll give you another example. When I first went to, and this was like 4 or 5 years ago, I went to Kate's, like, familial home. I just want to see if we can maybe get a bomb. You know, I think we might be able to get enough money by playing, the sacrifice room, but anyway, we'll try. And, you know, they had cooked, you know, a homemade Korean meal. In the Korean meal was a rice noodle dish, or a glass noodle dish, I should say, called japchae. What is just glass noodles like julienne carrots. I'm trying to think of what else. Usually some onion. You know, it's basically like a. If you've ever had yakisoba, it's kind of similar to that. But like, you know, it's not, but you can think of it as if it is for the purposes of this bit. And I was being polite, you know? Do I like japchae? Yeah, it's fine. I would never order it for myself. And, you know, I've had it many, many times before and since, which is actually the spirit of the bit here. But, you know, I took a bite and I went, oh, it's delicious. Yo, incredible, dude. And then that became like their go-to meal to cook for me every single time for like the next, and it's very nice, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm like, well, these dummies, my family, by the way, they keep cooking me food out of the goodness of their heart. But it became a thing, basically, where every time I'd be there, they'd have japchae, and they'd be like, hey, we made you japchae because you love it so much. And I'm like, I do like it, but do I love it? You know, I think we've eased out of that period, thankfully. But it's, you know, oh, my deal with the devil, but we got mom's knife anyway, so who cares? You know, I wouldn't say you have to be careful with what you say, but, you know, you should be aware of what you say, because you never know when it's going to become like a thing for a while. I probably got that thing with other people. You know, I met them once and they mentioned, oh, you know, I had a hot dog for dinner tonight, and then for the rest of my life, every time I see them, I'm like, eating any hot dogs today, buddy? And they're like, please kill me. I don't even like hot dogs. I just happened to walk by a hot dog cart that day and decided it, you know, could be nice to live a little. Now I'm the hot dog guy forever. Some dude on Reddit is like, oh, I guess I'm the one dude who loves Crack the Sky enough to have made it into a bit every single Isaac episode where he gets it. Again, I want to be clear here. I'm not mad at the noodles being cooked for me, but, you know, politeness, it can get you into trouble, and by trouble I mean mildly inconvenienced at dinner time. I had to eat my 9th favorite Korean food more than once. It's not really a big problem is what I'm trying to get at, but, you know, if somebody does something for you and, you know, they bake you a cookie or something like that, you eat it and it sucks, they go, how is it? You go, delicious. You know what? you're probably going to end up getting more cookies. But you know, that's the price you pay for being a polite person. A really, truly polite person probably would not bring it up again on a show that, you know, maybe 30,000 people are going to tune into, but you get the idea. Just bringing up anecdotes from ye old life. Now, we should get a deal with the devil on this floor. I mean, I'm embarrassed in the first place. That's fine. I'm embarrassed in the first place that we didn't get a deal with the devil on the last floor. Like, we really shouldn't have been hit, especially after picking up Mom's knife. Now, you know me. I can find a way to complain about anything. What I'm going to complain about now is hilarious. And it's not really meant as complaining, but I'm just going to say it is harder to hit enemies with Mom's knife when your rate of fire is this good. I'm just going to say it. And I think it's the honest to goodness truth. You know, one little tippy tap sends it 10 miles away from... I'll take it. Sends it 10 miles away from our hitbox. It's a good thing to have a high rate of fire, but it is temporarily maybe holding us back just a little teensy bit until I get used to it. But otherwise, this is... I now feel like today's been such a good Isaac day. I'm like in the groove. No bombs at all, huh? I'm in the groove, you know, where you can just... You knock out Isaac episodes and they stop being like, you know, one episode stops being the unit. It starts being like 5 episodes, you know? 5 easy wins. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves, maybe. Well, you don't want to suggest that there's 5 easy wins? This is a tricky one. I'm not going to take the pentagram. Gotta, you know, keep ourselves alive here. So I took flying, which is amazing, and then I'm hoping to get some tinted rocks and bombs in the future. Because we could die. Even with Mom's knife, we could die. And I think it's one of those interesting deals with the devil we just had right there. Because I think you could very easily justify... is that... no, because I didn't take the book, which I could have taken on the last floor now that I think about it. Give me the invincibility for now. What I was going to say is I think you could justify also just taking the pentagram and not taking the ability to fly. And I know I said the word weird. It's been a long day of recording. Works down your Wernicke's areas and your Broca spots and your et ceteras. First year psychology students rise up. You know what I'm talking about. Something, the mitochondria is... No! That was genuine terror. I really... If that bomb had exploded... a little bit earlier, I'd be dusted. Anyway, what I was trying to say is that the deal with the devil is, you know, it was, polymorphic. You could have gone, you could have taken nothing and been fine, because you're like, hey, why do I need, damage? I already have Mom's knife, and the ability to fly is too expensive. I might get it cheaper later. Or if even, you know, I don't get it, it doesn't matter. Or you might have been like, you know, oh, give me the damage. I don't need the ability to fly as long as I can just crush things immediately upon entering a room. Or you might have been like, hey, give me it all. I have this hermit card anyway, so I'm pretty likely to get a shop. And even if I don't get a shop, I got Mom's friggin' knife, the ability to fly, and a ton of damage, so I'm unlikely to get hit. Any of those options could have worked. And they could still be the right call, for all I know. All I know is I'm gonna be using my excess charges of the Book of Invincibility to play this blood bank, which thankfully existed. This wasn't a bait shop. Now, the money, you know, is nice. Don't get me wrong. But it's not what I'm looking for. Punch my microphone, I'm sorry. I'm looking for blood bag. IV bag will not cut it. This is definitely secret room. Anyway. I don't know if anybody else had this. Oh, dude, did we have a tinted rock? I think I finally... It's probably my second bomb, so we would have seen one earlier. I was, in hindsight, like, embarrassingly polite as a youngster. I used to go to my friend's house, this is in high school, embarrassingly enough. The first, like, 4 or 5 times, I'd be hanging out there for, like, you know, 8 to 12 hours. No joke. I would never eat the first 5 or 6 times I went there. You know, her mom would be like, do you want to, you know, have a snack or something? Or, like, eat dinner? And I was like, nah, I'm not hungry. I couldn't possibly impose or anything like that. And they're like, you know, it's really weird that you're not eating. And I'm like, well, you know, I'm just not, I can't explain it. I'm just not hungry. I don't know. And then it took me forever to get, you know, comfortable enough to, not because I was worried they were going to cook, you know, something I didn't like. It was more just like, you know, I don't want to eat your food, even if it's like a meal that costs you nothing, and you have the means to provide it. I just felt weird about being like, I couldn't possibly. Hey, don't put any mustard on my hamburger. I wouldn't want to put you guys out or anything like that. Eventually, I got over it, and now, like, you know, you can actually be so polite that it doesn't even cross into weirdness, because, like, that was definitely, looking back, just bizarre. But you can be so polite that it actually becomes impolite. A good example of this, I think, is, I mean, I don't think refusing food is necessarily impolite, but you ever go out to dinner with somebody who refuses to let you pay for the check, even though you have the best argument to pay for the check? One of the, like, if it's an employer, and the employee is like, I'm gonna get the check, and then the employer is like, you know, no, I'm gonna get the check because, like, I'm your boss. The employee should go like, all right. And this is not, David, I'm not subtweeting you, okay? You are deferential when it counts in this situation. But there are some people who are just literally like, I refuse to let you pay for the meal. And you're like, you're in my city, you're a friend, you know, we recommended the restaurant. So if it ends up, you know, being pricey, that's on us. You shouldn't be responsible for it. You know, that is, you know, it's not really that rude, but I would say is impolite. You gotta you know, there's a tit for tat system at dinners. I think it's a complicated methodology. I would never deny that, but there's a system. You know, if there's a imbalance for whatever reason, like. A great example of this is you got, you know, 45-year-old parents, a 10-year-old kid. Who pays for dinner? Easy. If the kid goes, let me pay for dinner, you go, oh, you don't have to do that. And then if they insist, you know what? Maybe let them. If they feel like they would like to pay for dinner, why not? But, you know, apart from that, it's like, we always get, every time I go out to dinner with my manager / publicist / good friend, we always engage in, you know, build chicken. You know, you're a guest in my city, but yeah, but you put in long hours on that contract. Yeah, but I only got the contract because you found it in the first place. Yeah, but you flew in today, so you're tired. You shouldn't have to pay for dinner when you're tired. Yeah, but the dinner was so much better than I would have expected, and you recommended it, so I can't make you pay. You know, you go through this. I used to be. I would rather, like, fight a person than let them pay for my dinner. I'm not like that anymore. I always, and I've mentioned this a few times on the show, I'm sure, but I have a very simple methodology. First off, ABR, always be re-rolling. Secondly, offer to pay, you know, and if they say, no, I got it, you go, no, I got it. And then they go, I insist. That's it. As soon as somebody says the magic I word, it's over. The first insister gets to pay. Otherwise, you're going to make it weird. If you get to the point where you're like, excuse me, I thought I was invincible. I appear to be falsely invincible. That's a weird one. Did I reroll while I had Book of Shadows active or something? Very strange. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You gotta... I turned out pretty well adjusted for somebody that was an only child who grew up in the country. Like, my closest neighbor was like a kilometer bike ride away. Sure, I'll take ventricular razor. I think in the whole scheme of things, I ended up relatively well socialized, you know? As an adult, I basically owe it to my college experience. Living in the dorms probably saved my life. Your parents don't want you to go in the dorms. It's going to cost you too much money. Hey, you know, that's something you guys got to work out between each other. But simultaneously, you can use this as something in your column. Before I lived in the college dorms, I wasn't like a creeper. But I was, you know, when you came to your house for 12 hours, I wouldn't eat anything because I didn't want to. I was like, I'll reimburse you for the egg, you know? But, oh, right, I'm not invincible. This is it's a bug, but it's annoying. Just got to remember, continue business as usual. Don't let yourself get hit. We got to be getting close to that. You know what? With 9 lives, I think I'm comfortable taking that as well. And we're good. Before going to the dorms, picky eater. Didn't like rice. Didn't like soups. Stews. Most vegetables. Tolerated a few vegetables, but for the most part, you know. Now, I was actually a very healthy eater in spite of that, at least from the standpoint of, like, you know, from a fitness standpoint, believe it or not. But, I mean, I love ventricular razor, but this one, we gotta take Satanic Bible. But I was the kind of guy who was like, you know, for dinner, I'm just gonna have a grilled chicken breast and all, you know, 2 whole carrots. So I describe it, you know, healthy, but not necessarily good for you. Or maybe the opposite. Good for you, but not necessarily healthy. Even though I know they're the same thing. After going to the dorms, much more well-socialized, substantially more laid-back, more outgoing. You know, got over my picky eating. Was able to accept generosity from people without feeling like I owed them. You know, the world afterwards. It's not that the dorms did it. I did it with the aid of the dorms. But were it not for the dorms, if I'd continued living at home, I don't know. I'd be one of those weirdos who is like in their 30s and still communicates by using Twitch emotes in real life. Poggers, dude. I'm just joking, because that's me. That's me to this day. It's me and Kate. Not in public, but like if we're at home together and I like win a game of Tetris, I'll be like, yo, check it out, Kate. Poggers, dude. And she's like, what? Anyway. I think she likes me. Camo. Not really worth much at all, but this run is pretty good. Relatively set. Which is a nice place to be. That's why, you know, as somebody who's crossed the line of picky eaters, that's why I have strong opinions about picky eaters. Because I've been on both sides of the aisle. I'm like a Soviet defector. You know, you're over there behind the Iron Curtain of only eating chicken nuggets and breaded fish. And going, ketchup's too spicy. And I'm like, come over, the water's fine. And they're like, nah, I don't think so. What if the cauliflower hurts me? So, it's not like that. You know, you gotta ease yourself into it. I didn't become such a detestable gourmand overnight, you know? It started with chicken noodle soup, and now we're in the sweetbreads category. If you don't know what those are, you can look them up. And if you don't look them up now, at some point in your life, you'll probably get invited to a fancy dinner where they're served, and you're going to be like, this doesn't look like a cinnamon roll at all. Okay. Bail? We're free. But I'm not going to... Once a month I go off on this tangent. And I go one of two ways. I either appeal to you as a picky eater, and I go, you know, hey, try more foods, it's not going to hurt you. And then you go, well, when I was 6, I popped a cherry tomato in my mouth, and I didn't like it, so screw you, buddy. Who are you to think you know me better than myself? You know what? Fair enough. And the other angle I take is appealing to the parental units, you know? You know, like as parents, I think you got not a responsibility. That's I think you could be a good parent and still have your child be a picky eater for sure. But I think it's your prerogative to expose your children to not just diverse foods necessarily, because you know I don't care if you're worldly, but You know, to be like, I don't know. This is gonna sound bad, but I think as a parent, you gotta have a healthy skepticism when your child tells you something, right? Like when your child is like, I saw mommy kissing Santa Claus, you go like, oh really? Get a load of this liar, right? I think we actually just want to leave and use Emperor. But when your kid goes, cauliflower is icky, after they eat like one atom of it, you just go, okay, sweetie, you don't have to eat the rest. You can't do that. What you do is you buy them a cauliflower farm, and then you make them eat the whole harvest. And then if they still don't like it, then you go, okay, I believe you now. It's not really my parenting style. I don't know what my parenting style is yet. I think I'm gonna be a tiger mom, dude. Why not at this point? I'm not being facetious, by the way. As someone who, within the past 20 years, was a child, children have a lot of free time. I'm not saying every minute of my kid's life should be filled with chores. That's not really what I mean. But, like, I don't know. How do I want to go about this? I feel, and who knows, you know, I'm sure once you have a child and you experience it, you might feel differently about it, and you might be like, well, the best laid plans of mice and men have all fallen by the wayside. But, ooh, I almost just lost a life for no reason there. For me, I'm like, if my kid comes home and they got a report card full of D's and F's, and then I go talk to the teacher, and the teacher's like, they're trying their best, but they just can't seem to put it together, as an honest effort. If my kid's coming home with a report card full of C's and B's, and then I talk to the teacher, and the teacher's like, yeah, they're really smart, but they don't really put in an honest day's effort, that's when it's gonna start to hit the fan. And you might be like, that describes me. It kind of described me. I mean, I went through fits and spurts, you know. I would try for 2 years, and then I'd take like a year off the gas pedal. And my parents, I love them. They let me get away with just a little bit too much lackadaisicalness, you know? Still turned out, thanks to the dorms, as previously mentioned. But, you know, again, if you put in an honest day's work at it and it's not working out, that's one thing. If you're like, I'm naturally smart, but I don't want to do the work because I'd rather be playing League, you know, you're not my child, more power to you. If you're my child, there's going to be a dispute. My kids, I mean, and again, I have to preface this because it's the internet. Anytime my wife sneezes, people are like, is she pregnant? No pregnancy. But the kid's gonna, whenever it exists, is gonna have a hard time. Because I'm on the side of, like, and you might think the child can use reason against me. Well, you know, Dad plays video games 8 hours a day, why can't I? Well, when you start getting the check from Jeffrey B., we can talk about that. But until, well, then can I start a Twitch channel? Absolutely not. Under no circumstances. In fact, my child will not know that the internet exists until they're 16 years old. Anyway. You might think that they can use it against me, but I think it's quite the opposite. I think, you know, again, having been a double agent, you know, existing in the video game space, I'll be like, I thought you said one more game. And then they'll be like, yeah, well, it was a really long game. And I go, excuse me, this isn't Dota, this is League. The games never go longer than 41 minutes. And he's gonna go, crap, you got me. I queued for another one, Dad. And I'll go, okay, just play it out. I mean, I don't want you to lose placement. Ah. Oh, dude, we have a Boneheart. The Boneheart is so nice here. Anyway. Dude, the invincibility bug is getting me. What are you doing? I don't know. Like, letting kids be kids is good. You know, I don't think you should have a child. Your child should eat pizza with their hands, okay? That's where I'm at. You ever see that Chuck E. Cheese commercial? It's always like, you know, two older people, and this ad aired when I was like 9, so by older, they were probably like in their late 20s maybe. They'd be like sitting down to eat pizza, and they'd use a knife and a fork, and then a kid on a skateboard would come in and hurl like a hand grenade at their feet and be like, "Grandpas! Only grandpas eat pizza with a knife and a fork." And then, you know, they would eat it with their hands while riding away on their Razor scooter. And you'd be like, "Chuck E. Cheese, the crusts do line up, dude." Your kid, you know, they should get messy, make mistakes. But also, you know, you better have a good excuse if you're not doing your homework. And a good excuse could be like, "Hey, my teachers give me 5 hours of homework a night. I get home at 4 p.m. I go to bed at 10. What am I supposed to do? I'm 9 years old." That's fair. That's when you gotta have a call with the school board and be like, "Excuse me, school board, what is this?" But if you got like an hour or two of homework a night, and instead of doing the hour or two of homework, you're playing Apex Legends, we're gonna have words, and privileges are gonna be revoked. I actually, has anybody stolen this bit yet? Or am I stealing it from somebody else, I should say? This is like Jim Gaffigan level. And you can use your own temperament to figure out whether that's a good or a bad thing. By the time we have kids, grounding is going to be a privilege or a reward instead of a punishment. Thank God for the Guppy transformation. Instead, if you're having a fight with your kid and they're not, you know, they've disobeyed in a way that's not productive for their, you know, growth as a human being and eventual, you know, a well-integrated member of society who's nice to the people around them and also has self-respect, instead of being like, "Go to your room," you gotta be like, "That's it. I don't want to see you home until 9:30 p.m. I don't know why it's Bernie Sanders. "I command you to leave this house and go outdoors. Kick a ball around, go skateboard, and learn how to do a pop shove it. No room access." I was thinking about it because I was watching Game of Thrones. I also mentioned it, but I read The Stranger recently. But they both have to do with prison. But Game of Thrones is, you know, new season hasn't started, but HBO's been playing reruns of previous seasons to get people caught up, and I catch one every now and then. It's a nice refresher. And then, you know, Sir Davos, he's hanging out in a cell in one of the earlier seasons. And I'm like, man, being in prison probably still sucks, don't get me wrong. But it must have really sucked in the Middle Ages, when there was, like, no distractions whatsoever, right? I mean, I guess maybe you didn't even know what you were missing at that point, because it's not like, I mean, books were like $100,000 each or something. But I don't mean they were, I mean they were only held by the learned class. But anyway, I mean, I have to imagine that, you know, a lot of the problem with prison, you know, on a mental level, was the fact that you were not free and, you know, you didn't know what was going to happen to you. You might be tortured. You're never going to see your family again, maybe. I mean, it's all super negative stuff, right? But then there had to be a little sliver that was like, it's really just boring, right? Like, isn't that day in and day out? Isn't that the drudgery that gets you? Like, what do you do? What is Sir Davos doing in the cell? He's just looking at a freaking wall. Well, he's learning to read, but, like, if he didn't have the book, you know, what's he doing? What were you doing if you got sent to prison in the 1300s? You just sit on a cold floor and, you know, think about what you've done or been accused of doing, I suppose. Now, I know now, it's not like you get, you know, to take a cell phone in with you to prison. Although, maybe in some cases you should. I don't know if that's a radical thought, but, you know, you got labor, you got courses, you got group therapy sessions, you got, you know, textbooks, you can write letters. You know, there's at least, you can look out the window. I guess you could do that at any point in period of history, but you know what I mean? And then if you're in one of those, you know, like Scandinavian prisons, I saw the documentary on that Norwegian prison. They got, like, PlayStation 3s. It's not modern technology, but still, you know, it passes the time. And I feel like it's, like, a good thing. I mean, that's my 2 cents on it, at least, is that, like, at least the boredom isn't slowly rotting your mind from the inside out. I think it's a little bit too easy to be like, hey, you know, if you wanted to not be bored, then don't do crimes. It ignores some of the facts of false accusations and, you know, systemic societal effects that lead people to a criminal life. Anyway, for now, thanks for watching. It's not really the place nor the time for that. If you enjoyed the episode, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. And what are we at here? 7 wins in a row? 7 or 8, right? 7? Pretty good. I'm feeling confident in getting an Isaac. It's been a while since we've been there. For now, thanks for watching, and I will. We'll see you next time. See you!